you seen Dennis today?
Yes, earlier this morning.
How is he?
He's fine. Aren't you planning to visit him today?
No, I'm not.
Why not? It's none of my business.
Obviously, Dennis hasn't told you.
Told me what?
He asked me not to visit him for a while.
Well, Dennis has been rather moody lately, but it's understandable being locked up like that. But it's important for him to see the people who love him. It's very important that he knows that he has our support.
Elliot, Dennis asked me for a divorce.
What?
He thinks it's the best thing for both of us.
Well, when did this happen?
The other day when I visited him.
But why now?
He thinks that when he's sentenced to prison that our marriage will fall apart.
Paige, Dennis isn't going to be sentenced to prison.
I want to believe that more than anything.
Believe it, Paige. Because one way or the other, I'm going to see to it that Dennis doesn't go to jail for murdering Chris Shaw.
But the facts implicate him more and more every day,
Paige,
Elliot.
I'm doing what I can. But if you give up on him now, he'll have lost the most important reason for him to fight on.
I'm not giving up on him, Elliot, but I don't know what more to do. I mean, if he doesn't want to see me, I can't force myself on him.
Well, I'll talk to him.
No.
Yes.
And say what?
Well, I'll reason with him. He's not thinking clearly. He's angry and hurt, but he needs you, Paige. He needs you very badly.
No, Elliot, I don't think it's a good idea.
Paige.
No, Dennis needs time to think this out himself. He needs time to make his own decision. I only hope it's the right decision.
Mr. Wheeler's still asleep. He opens his eyes from time to time, but then he just stares forward like doesn't really see anything.
Is he aware of his surroundings?
I don't know. The doctors say that he doesn't see or hear anything, but Mrs. Wheeler doesn't believe that.
It sounds like Mrs. Wheeler is a very determined woman.
Oh, she is. She'll never give up. If anybody can bring Mr. Wheeler back to health, that's Mrs. Wheeler. Can I fix you something while you're waiting for Mrs. Wheeler to arrive? Some coffee, some tea, a drink maybe?
Well, thank you. Yeah, a big glass of iced tea sounds wonderful.
Do you like it sweet?
Yes, that's exactly how I like it.
I do too. Mrs. Wheeler just hates it that way. But I always put a lot of lemon in it to cut that sweetness.
That's just the way I like it.
Now, if Mr. Wheeler opens his eyes, you just talk to him like he's anybody, you know? That's what Mrs. Wheeler does, and I do too sometimes. But don't you let it bother you if he doesn't answer.
No, I won't.
Because that's the kind of thing that's going to bring him around.
Thank you, Vivian.
Okay. One sweet iced tea coming up.
Thank you. So, Alex, we meet again. Oh, Alex, I'm afraid we're going to have to disappoint your wife. Seems you've suddenly taken a slight turn for the worse.
Could I have the tea in the living room, Lily? Mr. Parnell, I'm Iris Wheeler.
I put the tea tray in the living room here.
Thank you, dear. You know, Mr. Parnell, Alex always spoke highly of your partner, Jim Lawrence.
Do you know Jim?
Well, I've met him once, but I can't really say that I know him.
Your Jim was very upset to hear about your husband's stroke.
You can tell Mr. Lawrence that Alex is going to get well soon, very soon. I'm going to see to that.
I admire your determination, Mrs. Wheeler.
I got it from my husband. He built World Oil, his financial empire, single-handedly, you know.
You must be a strong man.
Yes, very strong and very tenacious. You can't keep a man like that down.
No, I imagine you can't.
Where's Jim Lawrence now?
He's out of the country on business.
Oh, I hope he comes back soon and pays Alex a visit. I think that being home in familiar surroundings and seeing the people he knows, his family and his loved ones, will help Alex more than anything else.
I'm sure you're right. Alex is very fortunate to have a wife like you.
No, I'm the fortunate one, Mr. Parnell. Now, I think we've talked enough about me. I'd like to hear something about you. Have you been in Houston long?
Well, not long. Until recently, I spent most of my time down in Galveston in our main offices.
How long have you been in partnership with Jim Lawrence?
Oh, it's about a year now.
About recently.
Yeah, well, it seems like longer. Jim and I hit it off right away. We work very well together.
I don't suppose you've had time to make many friends here in Houston.
No, for the most part, I've been too busy to make friends.
Oh, one should never be too busy to make friends.
It's true. And I'm hoping that that'll change now that I'm spending more time here in Houston.
It's too bad. If things were different, if Alex were well, I'd be having people for dinner and giving parties. I'd love to introduce you to my circle of friends.
That would have been nice.
But until Alex is better, I won't be doing any entertaining.
I understand. I do see your daughter-in-law, Paige Carrington, from time to time.
Oh, really?
Yes, she's doing quite a job running the Top of the World Club.
I don't think that job is terribly difficult. I think a great many people could run it just as well. Maybe better. How well do you know Paige?
Well, just to speak to her when I go into the club for dinner.
Of course, you've read about my sons being in jail.
Yes, I have.
Paige is responsible for that. It's all her doing. And for that reason, she's not welcome in this house.
How's your son's case coming along?
Our attorney, Stryker Bellman, and I are doing everything we can for Dennis, but it's all in the hands of the district attorney now.
Is there a chance that he could be set free?
He pleaded guilty. If he does get off, it will be a miracle. But then, I've always been a woman who believes in miracles.
I have a feeling you may even have been responsible for a few. Well, I've taken enough of your time, Mrs. Wheeler. I really should be going.
Thank you for dropping by, Mr. Parnell.
Oh, my pleasure. Hope to see you again soon.
Yes, I hope so, too. Goodbye now.
Bye-bye.
Is Mr. Parnell gone? I was going to ask if you wanted some more iced tea.
Yes, he's gone.
Vivian. What?
Don't ever allow someone into Alex's room again without my being there.
Sorry I let Mr. Parnell into Mr. Wheeler's room when you weren't there.
It's all right, Vivian.
But he did say he was a business friend of Mr. Wheeler's.
Vivian, it's all right. I'm not saying you did anything wrong.
Yes, ma'am.
I hadn't told you before. But I am telling you now. No one, absolutely no one, is allowed into that room unless I am present. Do you understand me?
Yes, I do, Mrs. Wheeler.
Good.
Mr. Parnell did seem like a nice man. Didn't you think, Mrs. Wheeler?
He knows Paige.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people must know Mrs. Carrington from the Top of the World Club. After all, she runs it.
Oh, did I tell you Dennis has offered to give Paige a divorce?
No, ma'am, you didn't. Poor Mr. Carrington.
Oh, poor Mr. Carrington, indeed. I think he's finally come to his senses.
He loves Mrs. Carrington.
Everything has limits, Vivian. Even love can only put up with so much.
Does Mrs. Carrington want a divorce?
I don't know. But I do intend to find out. Shouldn't you be taking the tea tray back to the kitchen?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Paige, it's Iris Wheeler. I was wondering if you could meet me here at my house in half an hour.
Iris, I really have a lot of work to take care of here at the club.
I'm certain it can wait.
Well, actually, it really can't. You see, we have to get ready for the dinner crowd.
It's important, Paige. Stryker Bellman will also be here. You see, I think I've come up with a way for you to help Dennis.